Once the midway point has been reached, attained and understood, a person can then literally lucid dream on demand whenever they might want to. Not only at their normal bedtimes every night as per usual, but also at other times of the day as well. In fact, the more one wilds, is the more likely it becomes that you'll also begin wilding at other times of the day too. Just resting your eyes for a moment at any time may, for example, very easily result in seeing the hypnagogia almost straight away. So much so that one lady reported that she regularly wilded on the bus every morning on her way into work. So then, what if everyone could lucid dream any time they wanted to, literally as much as they want? Wouldn't that be something? That instead of there being only 16 hours a day on average of conscious wakefulness, this were to be extended to, say, 20 hours per day or more, albeit with these extra hours of wakefulness spent lucidly dreaming. Wouldn't this in some sense change the way people tend to think about themselves and the lives they're living? This eventuality is something we're currently safe from, however, because the DILD method doesn't really allow for such regularity in lucid dreaming. Moreover, given the rather hit-and-miss nature of DILDs, even experienced practitioners would likely count themselves fortunate indeed to lucid dream once or at most twice a week. So then, imagine now that you could somehow enter into a lucid dreaming state more easily, more readily, and far more often, more than just once or even twice a week, this last being the holy grail of DILDs, or even more than 3 or 4 times a week, as often as you wish. And by this, I mean being able to deliberately and consciously to enter into a dreaming state at will without first having to fall asleep in the usual manner. In fact, far from remaining a hit or miss affair for the persistent and or somehow talented few DILD doers, lucid dreaming under such circumstances would begin to take on a whole new meaning altogether, something that demanded to be assigned a totally different order of importance. If everyone could lucid dream literally as much as they pleased, it would massively change things. It would substantially affect our waking lives. In which case, welcome to wilds and to wilding. Thus far, lucid dreaming has remained the sole proprietary of the persistent few using the incredibly difficult and unpredictable DILDs method. Consequently, the whole subject of lucid dreaming appears to belong to some kind of fringe movement that bears no apparent relevance to life in modern society. However, with wilds all that would change. Factor in the curious ability of virtually anyone to enter into a lucid dreaming state at will whenever they wanted to on demand, and surely one would eventually be forced to beg the question as to what is all this and why are we even able to do it in the first place? Unfortunately, as yet, we don't appear to have many answers to this puzzling conundrum, since the possibility of people being able to lucid dream at will actually raises more questions than it provides answers for. Nor do we have anything in our society or history to account for it beyond either the ravings of the tiny few or the rather dismissive quirk of perception theory of rational science. The point is that if lucid dreaming can be invoked upon command, as in the case of wilds, it can hardly be just a glitch or quirk of perception. There has to be more to it, and a logical explanation must be discovered. It might even begin to resemble something, an otherwise innate ability, that everyone has in ready reserve but never bothers to use. The big question is, what are dream states really? Is falling asleep and dreaming all the same, or are there different levels and or degrees of dreaming? Consider equally what, if anything, the relevance of these so-called dreaming states is to the apparatus of our perception of our daily surroundings. This final notion has considerably more far-reaching implications if, for example, it ever turned out to be that all states of awareness, including normal waking awareness, are all in fact perceptual states of dreaming. Just the practice of lucid dreaming alone seems to call into question the very nature of awareness in general, and it becomes increasingly apparent even to someone who's not looking for it, that the nature of our awareness and perception has much more to it than we ever rationally suspected, possibly even massively so. It's actually very odd when we begin to examine the whole process of sleeping, something which is taken completely for granted, if only because we've just always done it. And as far as most people are concerned, that's the end of the story. However, what if we choose to question it? What if we examine this process of sleep and sleeping again, instead of just accepting it? What if we dare to question this absolute need to pass out on a daily basis, totally against our will? Especially considering that having dreams appears to be the chief goal of the whole process, rather than just that of the physical downtime required to recharge ourselves physically. Point is that sleep is so commonplace, and dreams generally so vague and difficult to remember, that eventually we come simply to accept it and meekly acquiesce to sleep's demands. Large areas of our lives are given over entirely to doing so, even to the point that whole industries are totally dedicated to helping everyone to sleep as comfortably as possible. Accordingly, if people could in any way reduce this involuntary downtime without any detriment to their health, then I don't doubt many would only be too happy to do so. The singular lack of information on this need, not only to sleep, but also to dream, means that we must disregard everything we think we know about the subject and start over with a complete re-examination of the entire process. This just might result in a better understanding of how it all works, rather than meekly acquiescing to a process we otherwise take absolutely no conscious part in beyond just letting it happen. The same can be said for lucid dreaming and everything we think we might already know about that subject and the many conclusions people have come to concerning it. In which case, we should probably set accepted understanding aside and start from zero, collecting and collating evidence the better to assess and understand what's really occurring during sleep and why. Next, with greater understanding of that process, we might even be able to take an active hand in it, rather than just leaving it all to function on some unconscious default autopilot, as is mostly the case with the lucid dreams engendered by DILs. In the next tutorial, we'll have a look at how many famous people in the past have used a partial state of wilding to touch upon genius levels, much of the information they brought back to us from their waking dreams, profoundly changing our world forever. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this instruction intriguing and inspiring and would like to learn more. In which case, please subscribe to this channel and/or check back soon for the next video update in this series. Anyway, bye for now, plus see you soon in part 8, The Making of Genius. See ya!